Welcome to the SCA's AmeriCorps Orientation Training. The purpose of this orientation is to familiarize you with the SCA and AmeriCorps and make sure you have all the information you need to start and complete the program successfully. My name is Haley Morway, and I'm the AmeriCorps Program Manager at the SCA. If you have questions before, during, or after your term of service, you can send me an email seen here on the screen. Or you can contact SCA's AmeriCorps staff using their general inbox at americorps@thesca.org. This orientation is required for all SCA members serving in AmeriCorps. You should view this training before each SCA AmeriCorps position so that you're refreshed on the policies, requirements, and benefits before starting service. I'm going to start by talking about how AmeriCorps and SCA fit together. Then I'll shift to your requirements, as well as what you'll receive after your position, and I'll finish up with some additional AmeriCorps resources that will help you down the road. SCA and AmeriCorps share a common history, the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC, which was created by President Roosevelt. CCC provided opportunities for unemployed young men to engage in meaningful work during the Great Depression, mostly on conservation projects in the nation's public lands. Elizabeth Cushman, a college student in the 1950s, founded the SCA and used the CCC program as a model. She believed that the hard work of young people could solve some of the most critical challenges facing our nation's public lands. While SCA grew and expanded, other organizations like Peace Corps, VISTA, and the Youth Conservation Corps were promoting national service across America as well. National service was a growing movement. In 1994, an act of Congress created a federal agency called the Corporation for National and Community Service, whose mission is to engage Americans in service and volunteerism as a solution to challenges. Thus started AmeriCorps. Throughout this presentation, this organization will be identified as AmeriCorps because their name was changed in 2020 from the Corporation for National and Community Service. Through AmeriCorps, nonprofit organizations like the SCA receive opportunities, program support, and grant funds that allow us to turn your position into an AmeriCorps position, the enrollment in which makes you eligible for an AmeriCorps Education Award in exchange for your dedication to national service. This partnership helps us recruit the best candidates just like you so that we can get more done to protect and restore our nation's cultural and natural resources. Every year, there are about 80,000 people serving as AmeriCorps members with other nonprofits that focus on education, veteran services, community health, and environmental stewardship. You are part of a growing movement to service that stretches across the country and has for decades. Now, let's get down to the business of your AmeriCorps position. As an AmeriCorps member with SCA, there are a few things that are unique about your position. You'll have some additional paperwork to complete before and after your position. There are activities you are prohibited from engaging in while you're an AmeriCorps member, which we'll talk about in detail. And you have special benefits, like the AmeriCorps Education Award and applying for loan forbearance if you're currently repaying federal student loans. You also have access to child care service and health insurance through the SCA if your position qualifies. There are several organizations associated with making your position and all your benefits possible, so it's important to understand the role each plays. Your site is responsible for providing you with a meaningful service opportunity, related training, and daily oversight. SCA is a link between you and your site, handling a lot of the administrative aspects, like your living allowance, travel reimbursements, and uniform, as well as providing ongoing support. AmeriCorps provides financial and programmatic support, in return setting some of the guidelines and requirements for your position. One of those requirements is for the entire program to engage 2,000 volunteers and treat 50,000 acres and 1,500 miles of public lands or waterways. These performance measures are for the entirety of SCA's AmeriCorps grant and must be reported on by the end of the year. SCA collects this data throughout the year using your output logs, which I'll explain later on. Other requirements set by AmeriCorps determine who is eligible to serve. Applicants to the AmeriCorps program must meet the following eligibility requirements. At this point, you should have already stated your eligibility for the first 4 bullets on your SCA application. The 5th item is to pass a specific criminal history review required by AmeriCorps, which includes an FBI background check. And members who have served with AmeriCorps previously must have received a satisfactory end-of-term evaluation from their host site partner, served in AmeriCorps no more than 3 times so far, and received less than 2 full-time education awards. You can serve in AmeriCorps up to 4 times total, and you can earn up to the equivalent of 2 1,700-hour education awards, but meeting the eligibility requirements are just the first step. You've accepted your SCA position and with it an education award. What comes next? This is your critical checklist of onboarding items from the SCA, which are required to be submitted before your position starts. If you're unsure of how to find any of them, contact your SCA advisor or send an email to americorps@thesca.org. Failure to submit these items before your position's start date may result in the removal of your education award, so please address them as soon as possible. First is your AmeriCorps paperwork and I-9, all of which can be accessed from your My SCA portal. The paperwork includes a member service agreement, which is like your position's contract, and it lists your position's start and end dates, as well as how many hours you are required to serve for your education award. I encourage you to review this document carefully before signing and calculate the average amount of hours you'll need to reach on a weekly basis in order to receive your AmeriCorps award. Also included in this onboarding paperwork is your proof of citizenship form, which needs to be signed and attached to an upload of your citizenship documentation, like a permanent resident card or a U.S. passport. Next is to complete your background checks through our vendors, TrueScreen and FieldPrint. One of the checks will include being fingerprinted, so it needs to be done before you leave for your service site. Instructions for these are sent to you via email by our HR department. If you haven't received anything yet, you should contact your SCA advisor. If you're unsure of who your SCA advisor is, their name can be found at the top of your My SCA homepage. The last onboarding item to complete before you start your position is your My AmeriCorps enrollment form, which will require you to create a My AmeriCorps account. This site is separate from your My SCA portal and specific to AmeriCorps service. First, create a My AmeriCorps profile or log into your existing account. Don't lose this login info because it will be needed to access your award funds. Also, make sure you use your full legal name and correct personal information. Next, you'll receive an invite to join SCA's program via email about 2 weeks before you start your position, along with an instructional email on how to create an account if you don't already have one. Then you log in to complete the enrollment form on your homepage and save. This is not the same as an application, which isn't needed since you've already been selected by SCA. If you receive an error message at any point in this process, try again on a different web browser. If you still cannot proceed, email americorps@thesca.org. You'll receive a confirmation email once you've been enrolled, which occurs no more than 1 week after you enter the field. If we cannot enroll you, we will send you an email, so keep an eye on your inbox. Next up are the program requirements to complete during and after your position in order to receive your AmeriCorps Education Award. During your position, you'll need to submit time and output logs in your MySCA portal, and your supervisor will approve them electronically. Time logs are commonly referred to as timesheets, and these logs are records of how many hours you spent in service at your site. You should submit them on a weekly basis and keep them accurate because they are used to determine if you have met the minimum required hours and should therefore receive your education award. Output logs, on the other hand, describe the efforts you put into each project and are used to measure what you accomplished during your position. I suggest starting an output log each time you begin a project. Save it as a draft so you can edit it as you go. Once the project is complete, you can submit the output log for approval. At the end of the year, these logs are used to show AmeriCorps what all the SCA's members have accomplished and whether or not we've met the goals of our AmeriCorps grant. The purpose of your service is to meet an unmet need of the community, and meeting unmet needs is central to the missions of both SCA and AmeriCorps. Every AmeriCorps member serving across the nation will be participating in service that meets a critical need. This is information provided by your site when they request your position with SCA. The unmet need is important because it's the reason why your site needs you in your position. You can find this information in your MySCA account under the Prepare for Service tab, and click on your position title to see the details about your position. As you can see, the unmet need is located below the position description. If your unmet need lacks details, make a point to speak to your site supervisor so you can better understand your position. For those of you who may already be at your internship and currently serving, you'll instead want to click on the tab labeled Manage My Service Tasks, and you can click on your position to view additional details there. AmeriCorps is a government-funded program created by congressional legislation, and because of this, there are specific activities that AmeriCorps members are prohibited from engaging in during service. You can participate in these activities during your free time as a private citizen, but you should not wear any AmeriCorps logoed gear or represent yourself as an AmeriCorps member while doing so. These 5 are the most common prohibited activities that you could encounter while serving. There are 9 activities in total, and that list can be found on your Member Service Agreement form within your MySCA account. If you engage in any of these prohibited activities and they are recorded in your time logs or output logs, those hours cannot be counted toward your AmeriCorps service hours. As we just discussed, AmeriCorps members have to solve an unmet need at their site. Members are not allowed to help an organization's business as usual or general operation, which can be viewed as staff displacement. This one is the most common of all the prohibited activities. For example, your position's many objectives should not be answering the telephones, taking meeting minutes, emptying the trash, maintaining the website, or doing any other general organizational or maintenance activities. You might be engaged with some of these activities because they're connected to your project, such as making phone calls to conduct a survey, creating a website to share the results of a data collection project, or cleaning up a room after giving an educational program. Members might also be engaged in general operation activities on an incidental basis. In most cases, though, the key is to make sure that everything you do is in support of your particular project. Now it's time for a quick quiz. We review all position descriptions to make sure they are AmeriCorps eligible, but if you feel like you're being asked to do something outside your position description that may be displacing the work of a staff member or volunteer, what should you do? You have 4 options. Talk to your supervisor, email your SCA advisor, refuse to do anything and go home, or say nothing and continue with the task. The answer is you should talk to your supervisor and your SCA advisor. And if you need more information, please check in your SCA handbook. An easy way to show support for your program, conservation, and national service is to show off your gear. If you have the chance to wear your SCA uniform during service, you are encouraged to do so. Plus, you can show your support for AmeriCorps by wearing the AmeriCorps pin or patch and your SCA name tag during service hours. This may seem obvious, but you also need to complete your AmeriCorps minimum required hours and the full length of your internship, both of which can be found in your AmeriCorps Member Service Agreement that you signed before starting. AmeriCorps is about making a commitment to service. If you cannot complete your term of service, you will only be eligible for an education award if it's because of a circumstance outside your control. Examples of these circumstances are a serious illness or injury, death in the family, a natural disaster, or military service. If one of these compelling circumstances occur, you should notify your site supervisor and your SCA advisor. Additional information about a compelling circumstance can be found in the AmeriCorps Member Service Agreement. If you leave your position for any other reason, you're let go, you're hired for another job, you're homesick, or you start school, you won't receive any amount of your education award. As your position comes to a close, you'll receive several emails about your exit paperwork, which is due within a week from your last day in the field. Regardless of whether you are receiving your education award, you need to submit these items because they're required in order to exit you from the AmeriCorps program. First is the AmeriCorps exit form, which is completed in your My AmeriCorps account. Next is your post-program self-assessment, which you'll have access to in your My SCA portal. The last item is the end-of-term evaluation completed by your supervisor, so you should remind them to complete it if they haven't by your last day. If this evaluation rating is unsatisfactory, you cannot serve with AmeriCorps again. You'll be exited by SCA staff within 30 days of your end date, and you'll receive a confirmation email with the status of your award along with instructions. At that time, you'll be able to access your award funds, assuming that you earn them, through your My AmeriCorps account. You'll also use your My AmeriCorps account to electronically access your education award funds and send them to a school or lender, so don't forget your My AmeriCorps portal login. You might be wondering what's so special about this education award. The education award can be used towards qualified federal student loans or tuition at AmeriCorps eligible institutions. The award is valid for 7 years, so you have plenty of time to use it, and it's recommended that you start planning what you'll use the award for now. Plus, it's important to do your research on the AmeriCorps website before attempting to use your award. An example would be to go to the AmeriCorps website, look up your school or loan holding company, and make sure they accept AmeriCorps awards as payment. Or you can research other institutions that accept AmeriCorps so you can enroll in their courses, like a wilderness first aid course. And if you're currently repaying student loans, you can place them in forbearance as soon as you're enrolled in AmeriCorps. Then you can apply to have any interest that accrues to be paid by the National Trust at the end of your service. All of this information can be found on the AmeriCorps website. Now, for the most exciting topic of all, taxes. Before you tune this out, just keep in mind that AmeriCorps has tax implications for you. You will have to pay taxes on your education award in the year that you use your funds, and for the AmeriCorps, we'll send you a 1099, a miscellaneous income form. You can access your W-2 for your federal tax filing through your Paycom account. These financials can be complicated depending on your specific situation, so make sure you read about these taxes on their website, or you can call the National Service Hotline for help. Since I've only mentioned it 3 times, I'll say it again. The AmeriCorps website is called AmeriCorps.gov, and it's a great resource for alumni and prospective members. It has information about education awards, the different types of national service, local events you can participate in, and it can even give you ideas on what path to follow next. Another important resource is the National Service Hotline, which is staffed on weekdays during standard business hours. If you ever need help using your My AmeriCorps account, you can contact them. And if you haven't written this info down yet, you should do so now. And finally, once you're an SCA alumni, there are a few other resources you should definitely look into. The SCA's alumni group on Facebook, the Career Resources page on SCA's website, and the AmeriCorps alumni page. You can stay connected, share about your experiences, and help others find national service and the SCA. Thanks for attending this training. Please email us at AmeriCorps@thesca.org to let us know that you viewed the video. We hope we've given you plenty of support to help you through your position and successfully complete your AmeriCorps service. As always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact SCA. And best of luck to you in your position.